Hello, my name is Frank Christensen and I'm the coordinator of officials for IFAF in Europe. Today we're looking at offside by the kicking team on kickoffs. So we'll look at some deep kickoffs, we'll look at some onside kicks, and we'll see how much is enough, or rather how much is too much to ignore. But before we get to the plays, let's have a look at what the rulebook and the MoFo have to say on the topic. In the rulebook, we start with the definition in 2.18.3 offside on a free kick that says offside occurs when B, one or more players of the kicking team are not behind their restraining line when the ball is kicked. And the obvious exception then is the kicker and holder are not offside when they are beyond their restraining line. And in rule 612B2, this rule agrees all players on the kicking team except the kicker in his kicking motion and the holder for the purposes of holding the ball must remain behind their their restraining line. In the MoFo, we get a little bit more specific in 6.3.4 offside on a free kick, and A says officiate team A restraining line as a plane. So that's the starting point. On an onside or other short kick, deliberate or unintentional, any player other than the kicker or holder, again, breaking the plane before the ball is kicked is offside. So an onside or short kick, that is what we're going with. And C then finishes off by saying on a deep kickoff, do not be too technical. And that's really what we're looking at. And we'll now have a look at some play examples to see how we're going to interpret this being technical. So that was the book. Now let's have a look at some game film. In this first example, we'll have a look at a situation where there just isn't enough. Now technically, he is over the plane, or he's breaking the plane of in this case, the 45. But if you look at the kick, he really doesn't get any advantage of it, and besides, the play ends up in a touchback. So this is one where we don't want to be too technical, and we can certainly live with a no call here. Here's another example of a marginal offside, and as you'll notice, there are two players this time that are breaking the plane, but again, it's a marginal amount, it's a trivial amount, and there just isn't enough that we want to call this. Even though they end up getting a good kickoff coverage here, this is, if we start calling this, then we have a lot of these that we need to call, and we just want them to be a little bit bigger. Even though they are breaking the plane a little bit, this is also one that we should leave alone. In this last example, we're looking at number 93, and even though he just gets his foot down beyond the line as the ball is kicked, which typically is our philosophy of when to call it, if you look at his his size and his speed, I mean, 10 yards further down the field, he's the slowest of the coverage guys, and he never really gets a chance to participate in the coverage. So to me, this is also one that we can let go, simply because it didn't have an effect, and it wasn't so big that it kind of explodes in our eyes or on the screen. So again, this is one that I'm happy to let go. Now we'll have a look at two plays where, even though it's a deep kick, this is just too much to ignore. So even on a deep kick, this is too far. And you'll notice that we've got at least 2 players over. One of them is 2-3 yards over the line, and this is just too much. And several players, and we need to call this regardless of how deep the kick is. And here's another example of a deep kick where the offside simply is too much to leave alone. Notice that right now the ball is being kicked, and there almost everybody is over, especially this one guy who is 2.5 yards over, and the nearest guy also has a foot down, and on the far side there are also players over. So, and you'll notice here the back judge is getting ready to throw his flag, because this is simply too much to let go with the talk to, even though it's a deep kick. But now let's move on to onside kicks. Now when we're looking on onside kicks, now it really is a plane, and we're very tight. So let's see if I can hit it right. So right before the ball is kicked, and number 3 in already has a foot on the line. So this is enough for an offside on an onside kick, and this should be called. Here's another onside kick, and you'll notice I've frozen the video just as foot meets leather, and he's kicking the ball away from the camera. But you'll notice the 2 players away from the camera are already over the line, both of them. And since now on a deep kick we could have let this go because it's not that bad, but on an onside kick we have to call these. And let's have a look at how the play ends. One of the players that was offside actually ends up catching the balls just beyond the Team B's restraining line, and unfortunately this wasn't called. So this is just something that we have to be aware of, and especially on onside kicks, we have to get these. Another kickoff, another onside kick, and another one that we really need to catch. And this one is on both sides of the ball, so the ball hasn't been kicked yet, and you'll notice that on both sides of the ball we have players offside. So this is certainly one that we would want to catch. On this last play is a good illustration of what the philosophy is on onside kicks, because we have a kick here which is an onside kick, and as the ball is kicked, the player who is offside is on the opposite side of where the ball is going to go. And if we keep an eye on the guy who is offside, he really never gets involved in the play. But because this is an onside kick, this is one that we do get, and the one that we want to get, because on these onside kicks they have to be absolutely legal, and everybody have to be behind the ball. Here, even though he does not participate in the play, this is one that we need to call. That was the training tape, and I hope you found something you can use on the field.